Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hypixel Bed Wars, and today I am going to be doing another Fecal Gamer YT Speaks. And in this video, oh boy, today's video is going to be quite the exciting one, or it may be exciting, but I'm going to be talking about how school almost ruined my life in its entirety. Well, not almost ruined, but almost just ruined my mentality. So I'm going to say ruined my life because it almost could have. I'm not saying it did or it would. It almost got to the point where it ruined my life. And it's actually crazy to think that it got to that point, but it did almost. So I'm going to start by explaining my side of the story and why it almost got control of my life in these past couple of years. So starting in my 7th grade year, which was about a year ago, I had just moved from my school, Brown Intermediate, and I was moving to my new school, which I'll make up a fake name for, which is Creek Cross. Or not Creek Cross, my bad. It was Creek. And, come on, off the map. No. But anyways, this school named Creek, I had just moved there, and I was about ready to go after coming off of I think it was 5.5 month break. COVID sent everyone off in shambles in this new school year, so it was going to be this was going to be a tough school year already. Even if it wasn't academically challenging, it was still going to be a tough school year nonetheless. And I just got freaking Luckily, the man I'm playing against is a literal bot, but you know what? It's fine. But I had been going back after a 5-month break, and I was heading into a new school. This school was said to be more challenging in academics and stuff. So I started out my 7th grade year, and so far everything's looking all right. But the first thing that happened that made me realize what had I gotten myself into was, first off, this man's is literally, come on, you, dude, your hits are so weird. But I had been coming off a COVID year, and I was about to go into the unknown, so to speak. So the first signs that school was going to be stressful for me in this new one is the fact of it was my first test that I knew. I kind of asked myself, what have I gotten myself into here? So the first test I ever took, or the first two, was actually 2 on the first day, believe it or not. So I will. I just comboed the crap out of that guy right there. But I had went to school, and I had a TN history test and a grammar test. Simple things. But the first sign was I completely died before that test. Was I was crying. I was terrified, and I had never felt that before. I had always been impressioned that I had always been in public school and used to the test having every day and not requiring much studying. But this time I actually had a lot of time, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if this is on the test and I don't know fully what it is? It's just these what if questions, and it's these what if little statements that was getting me terrified before test. And the funny thing is, I just clutched that. Oh my goodness. The funny thing is, I actually ended up passing both of those tests with flying colors, like straight 100s on both of them. So, I missed the block clutch. But anyways, I had passed both tests with flying colors, and I kind of developed a sense of why school was going to be hard. But it wasn't just there. I had multiple worries all throughout the school year as well. There was a social life side issue, moving schools. I'll get into that in a different video, but school was starting in December. I started to realize that school was giving me no joy. Being there every day, or not every day, was great, but I was also, in December, oh my goodness, no way. Oh, okay. They just obliterated through our defenses. But I was starting to realize that school was taking a bit more time. I wasn't managing a YouTube channel, so I wasn't under as much stress. I really could have managed a YouTube channel really well back then because I was had more time than I do now. But the stress came in at the beginning of 2021. So I had came back to school after Christmas break, and the stress started to kick in. Every time there was a mention of a test, I would sweat bullets, basically, so to speak. I was stressed out of my mind, and this also was apparent in 2020 as well, but I don't know why it was really apparent. But I would get really nervous to the point where I was like, I can't do this at all. So it got that bad. Like, I'm serious. Like, if you ask my parents, which I haven't parent revealed yet, but like, if you were to ask them, it was a nightmare. My parents thought I was just so stressed out because I was trying to keep things in my life, and it was building all this stress for me, which that wasn't the case. I was just basically, I was the smartest in my class, and yeah, I worried the most. My morale was I worry like I basically fail every test, but I don't. I think I've only failed one test at Cross Creek, and that was my math test. That was because I got way too cocky with some things. So, yeah, definitely not the way to start this video or the way you thought it would go. But to be honest, I think last year's stress could have been avoided a lot more. But it was just the fact that school took so much of my time. And I know it sounds kind of babyish in the reasoning of why school ruined my life, sort of. Okay, let me place down all these guys. I have henchmen. What are you gonna do about it? Wait, what? Ah! No! Are you freaking serious, my guy? Oh, no. Dude, you're serious. Alright, well, all the blue was stacked. But, school was bringing me no joy at all either. It wasn't like, and even now it still doesn't bring me too much joy. It's mixed feelings about the joy thing, but that's not it. So academics were trying to, I guess, take over my life, which was starting to signify a lot of stress. I had to invest probably tens of hours into academics each week, and the academics and doing the homework wasn't the problem because I had 2 hours every day. It was just the studying, and I think my brain defaulted a lot to the stress of, oh, if this isn't on the test, then I'm going to be so screwed and everything. Far-fetched from what I'm doing now, and if I have to stress like what I did last year or this year, I don't know if I would still be at the top of my 9th grade class. If it's divisioned, really, but still. I don't know if I would be the same person. I stressed about everything back then. I wasn't sure if I was going to get everything right, and my mind just went to perfectionist mode. It wanted to be the top of the class, and I'm guessing this awoke this. It's not like the grocery store kid, the immaturity. This was more of a competition. I would really highly suggest watching Josh Brett's video on it. It's similar to what he said with this person that he thought he had to be better than, and nothing he did was ever good enough. That was how I was. Nothing I did in the academics world ever was good enough. There could be something better, and someone in my class could be better. I'm not calling anyone dumb in my class, but there was no one better. And I'm not trying to brag either, but there was no one better, or no one to at least take me on. But I back then had no competition. Now, this is a far cry fetch from my early school years, and I think it is with everybody. Because when you're in like primary school, everyone is the smartest. Like, it's all, I mean, literally to fail primary school, you just have to not even try. And that's how people failed. And now it's the way it is now. No one tries. Like, the smartest people, it used to be top of the class in third grade. I'm fairly certain, like, 92% of the nerds died off in, like, for like junior high. So definitely it was a smart move to stick to being smart, because it allows a lot of, dude, no, but it's a far cry fetch. And I thought in my mind, I think last year, was that competition was still there. In sixth grade it was inevitably not, but I kind of thought, since these are new peers, what if these guys actually are smarter than me? And, what if they give me a run for the money? And clearly they weren't, because, they just weren't. So, obviously, my mind was thinking, oh no, oh shoot, my top spot in class could be yanked away from me. And I was getting terrified because I just didn't know, and there was a lot of unknowns. So, what I did, and this is probably the best representation of probably my worst mental breakdown at school and the stress. So we had 4 tests one day, and I had not had ever in my entire school history there 4 tests in a single day. So my whole weekend there was stressed out. It was the weekend before Christmas break, which is almost about to happen. I'm just very excited about that. It was the weekend before Christmas break, and I was stressed. If I started to look at my books to study, I would already get chills of stress. It was very overwhelming. I would be stressed out even if I mentioned my test. And to top it all off, I was away from home that weekend, so which should have worked in my favor, because I was at my mom and papa's house. They don't have internet, so I should have been studying every chance I got, which I did. I studied a lot that weekend. But I definitely think that I should have done a lot more things that I didn't do, but that weekend I was just stressed beyond belief. It was terrifying. I laugh at what I did that weekend now, because of just, how really stressed out I was, and how it was when I was crying and everything. I was literally, even if I was studying or not, whether I was or I wasn't, I was stressing just like every chance I got, and I was studying every chance I got. And then the day came, and oh my god, that was a massacre and a half at school. Oh my goodness. Back then, or even now, I still think that's the day probably where I cried enough to end the thirst issue in America, and probably outside of it too. It's very funny when I think on that day now, but the day that those 4 tests came, that I was a mess that day. It was interesting to say the least. I was a mess. And literally, my science teacher had to pull me when I was about to go into my next test, because I had Tennessee history, and then I had my pre-algebra test. My science teacher, which by the way was the wife to the English teacher, which I had a test in that day too. I had 4 classes, so if I could make it through, hey no, you can't kill me, you can't, my guy, you can't kill me. So, he literally pulled me out and said, it's not worth it to stress over these tests. And I highly thank that man for saying those words of encouragement, because I didn't need to stress that much. I literally didn't. And I remember those words even now when I'm like, on the verge of stressing out. I'm like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. If I don't know the stuff, it's not worth stressing out over it. It's just study it. And if you don't do good on the next test, oh well, study harder for the next one. It's literally that simple. Ooh, I almost fell. But that day was a massacre for me. It was bad, completely bad. Oh my gosh, my teammates, the god at this game. But it was bad. But I made it through. I was able to get home and enjoy my Christmas break, which I'm hoping I can do this year too. Oh my gosh. The fight of the ages, me and this red man here. So that day was crazy, but it only signified that school was trying to take over, And I had other moments too, even before that, where I would have 3 tests and I'd start to cry. Like, literally, my friends, like, Kendra from, like, all the channels, she would literally have to, like, when I was there in the back room, she'd literally have to comfort me because I'd start stressing. There was one time I remember, too, where Melissa, the principal, was trying to scare Kendra because she was kind of goofing off, and it got me all riled up. Like, seriously, she said, "Oh, we're gonna have to assign more work," and I'm in there in the back room sweating bullets, and because I wasn't the person admitted for the target, so I run up there and ask, and she's like, "Oh, it's meant to scare Kendra, not you. Sorry." Um, so there's a lot of there was a lot of moments last year. I think stress is the biggest problem I had, and I was just getting no joy from school. It was also kind of ruining me as a person. The study mentality I had last year was extremely unhealthy. I would study for hours last year. I would literally start studying, and then I would study one subject the whole day because usually that's how my tests were laid out back in 7th grade. And I would study for 2-3 hours every day I could. And I had free Fridays back then, which I wish I could have free Fridays now, but you can't get everything in this world. Yeah, it was hard back then. I was just worried about everything. I was a nervous wreck about everything. So that's 7th grade in a nutshell. Let's go into 9th grade, some more recent times. So the stress hasn't come hard to bite me. I mean, I've had a couple of moments this year where I just was like, fall, drop, I dare you to. Oh, the combos. What are your hits, my guy? Okay. But the stress came back to bite me a little bit, and there was one time in class a few weeks ago where I had done horribly on or not horribly, or it was actually just like last Thursday, where I needed to, like, I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to rewrite an essay, and I was like breaking down in class. I tried my best not to cry. But every time I get in these stressed phases, I'll look back and I'll be like, everything's under control. Just don't stress, and you'll be fine. So, yeah, I think on that paper, I'll alert y'all on stream probably Saturday, letting you all know how good I did on that paper. Oh, you know what I just realized, too? This is commercial break. I can't even stream on Saturday because of Friendsgiving, so you may not be getting any streams this weekend. Okay, back to the video. But my 9th grade year has been ups and downs. Social life as well has been ups and downs until, like, this last month. And yeah, I think I'm starting to fix that. So school almost ruined my life because I let it overtake me. I let it choose what I wanted it to do. I let it roam. I let it run my life, basically. And now I think I have dug myself out of that rabbit hole at least like halfway. It controls what I do still, like where I can go and for how long I can be in one place. For how long, kind of like actual medical problems. This keyboard sucks for bridging. But it holds me in kind of a tight stage. I hate having to use the excuse I need to study because I have a big test on Tuesday, or I usually don't have tests on Thursdays anymore. But I hate pulling the card of I need to study but I do it so much that it's kind of like lying in a way. Well, I don't lie about needing to study, but it feels like lying. You just get used to pulling it, and making it your normal thing that even when you don't, you still say you got to, but you don't. So, I let it overrun my life, and I caught it earlier on, because the thing is, if I get burnt out now in 9th grade when the work's not as hard, I'm going to burn myself out before I get to college. And if I burn myself out before I get to college, yay, we won. If I burn myself out before I get to college, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be ugly, because I want to go to college, and I want to have dreams and aspirations too. But if I let this thing called academia get in the way of me having a secure life and having a fun life, then academics or work in the future is going to control my life. I don't need to let an essay for school dictate my free time, because in reality, I know my teachers wouldn't sit their Saturday down unless it was like crucial. Because I'm thinking of this from a logical standpoint. These teachers that I go to school with, and they're my teachers, they're supposed to be there. I don't think logically they would sit down. I mean, I know they would try and do it right on the first try, which I goofed a lot on that first essay. But even if it was a critical essay, and they wouldn't spend their Saturdays, they would try and optimize every time they could. But I've noticed a lot more over my ninth grade year. I'm spending at least 2 Saturdays a month out of the 4 or 5 there are, or I think it's 4, just working on school. Now, studying is a different thing for me, because I consider studying using my time wisely, but I'm talking about doing the schoolwork, not even just studying. I spend 2 out of my 4 Saturdays, 1 out of 4 probably is spent doing extra work that I didn't have the time to do. And that's fine. I could have days where I don't finish a lot because, I'm trying to either get YouTube videos out, which I usually do my YouTube after I get done. Like on today, I have 2 tests tomorrow, but I've already studied for them. It's kind of like personal finance. You budget your time where you need it, and I'm having to learn somewhat how to do that now, because I'm having to budget my time everywhere, especially running this YouTube channel, which takes a heck of a lot of time to run. It's even more so now with this YouTube channel thing. So hopefully that gave you some insight on like the stress of school and how it almost took over my life. It's interesting, to say the least. Seriously, if you'd asked me this question, I was saying yes, school is taking over my life. It's changing who I am. And then I was like, in this new year, I'm not letting school dictate the person I am today, because if I do, the work in real life is going to dictate me, and everything else around me is going to start dictating my life. And if I let that happen, then I'm not going to be a wholesome person. My emotions are also a big problem here. My mental health is going to suffer, and I'll probably get tossed into a deep depression if I let this school keep running my life. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this school running my life. I'm still trying to break the link, but I still want to be the best person in my class. And I've learned I don't need to stress, because I don't think that I'll still put in a lot of effort, but I don't need to stress to the point where I'm thinking everyone around me is making straight 100s, because that's not the case. Children aren't perfect. I'm no exception to the rule, and I still think that even though it's a bit sad that I don't have anyone to compete with, I don't need to stress myself out to where I'm literally crying before every test or crying before every little essay that I have to write. I just need to pick myself up and do the damn work. That's really where I'm at with it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.